We back. Had some technical difficulties, but we back. So Andre, you was just telling us about the mosquitoes and camping in Nicaragua and what that experience was like. You said it was 8 out of 10 on intensity.
Yeah, it's probably between 7 and 8. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Um, but only the mosquitoes. All the other insects, they don't really mess with you like that. I mean, the bees are everywhere, but once you get used to it, they just you just become a part of nature.
How long did it take you to get used to it?
Maybe like 2 weeks, not even.
Wow. So one of the reasons why I left Belize and I moved to Costa Rica because it's something I didn't get used to, man. That was one of the reasons. Uh, it was just swarms of mosquitoes everywhere. Like
Yeah.
at first, I was wondering why the rent was so cheap in this little cabin that I had in Belize. I was paying like either $50 a month or $100 a month. This
Hmm.
cabin I had, but every time I went outside, it didn't matter what day of the week it was, rainy, not rainy, it didn't matter. Like swarms of mosquitoes would just jump on me as soon as I stepped outside.
Yeah.
And then in Belize, I believe you have four different type of biting bugs. You got the mosquitoes, you have these bugs called batlas, which they're like small black bugs, the small black bugs that bite you and they leave like a welt.
Oh
So
yeah.
you got so you got a lot of those. They're called balas, and then you got the doctor flies. They're like the yellow flies
Oh, I
that
don't
land
know
on you
nothing
and
about them.
sting.
Mm,
Yeah, they're called doctor flies.
mm,
They look just like a fly except for they're yellow. And then when they land on you, they sting you, and you don't feel it at first because it has like a numbing,
hmm.
like their stinger like numbs you. So they could be on you for like 5 seconds and you don't even know. And then it was the sand flies because I had a cabin by the beach, so it was those four biting bugs all the time that were all swarming. The only ones that wasn't swarming was the doctor flies. They would come every now and then, but the sand flies, mosquitoes, and batlas were swarm every day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's
it felt like we was in Egypt with the plagues.
see, I was gonna say you in a different terrain. I guess Belize
Yeah,
is a little bit different. You know what I mean? But
I
um,
was I was inland because they also have the islands, and you got the
okay.
city, of course. So in the city, you don't experience that. If people go to Belize and they're in the city, they might not know what I'm talking about. Or if they go to all the islands in Belize, they won't know what I'm talking about. But if they go to the jungle or they go to the beach, certain
Hmm.
beaches, it's going to be nothing. It's going to be swarms of mosquitoes and sandflies. And then when you go in the jungle, high in the mountains, not so much mosquitoes, but you're going to get a lot of the batlas, the black biting bugs in the mountains.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. In Nicaragua, it's just the mosquitoes, man. I think they call
I think you cut out for a second. See if we can get Andre back. It's cutting out. See, I think I disconnected. Oh, Andre got disconnected, so let me wait and see if he comes back. Oh, there he is. Yo.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would do that.
All right, let's see. Okay, you back?
Yeah.
All right. What happened? You like went outside the coverage?
I guess that zone over there
Yeah.
doesn't work as well. Like right here is the best, so we'll have to do it right here.
All right. So when you were buying land, like how'd you start with that?
We cut it.
Oh, I think your camera went out. Yeah, your camera went out. I think Andre is having some technical difficulties. So, let's see. I don't have anyone in the stream right now, so I can't answer any questions. Anyways, this is something new that we're doing. Andre just came back, but it's something new that we're doing, helping people. You back?
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you're back. All right. All right, so I was about to ask you about the buying land process. So how'd you go about doing that?
Phew. Man. So that experience, I mean, that's one of the bigger issues in Central America. I can't speak for like all the countries out there, but in Nicaragua, you kind of have to be careful because there's like certain like laws and regulations and clause that the native people know how to use, to kind of jerry rig a negotiation. And so I learned from a bad situation that I was in, which was I first purchased property on Ometepe Island, and I kind of got one of these contracts to where I didn't get an actual title, which I thought I did, but I didn't. I was given something called derecho de posesión or possession, which means you have the right to possess, but you don't get a title to the property. And meaning, like, the real owners or whoever has that title can show up on your property at any time and say, hey, we're the titled owners to this property.
They can kick you out?
Yeah, you just have the rights to possess that land. You see how it gets tricky?
Yeah, that's really tricky. I wouldn't trust that, man. I have to if I have my life savings, I wouldn't want to put it all into a property where someone can come and just take it. I mean, they can do that in the States. A lot of people have land, they buy it, and if they want you off that land, they could find a way to get you off of it. But it's a little scary when you're in a different country and you feel like you really don't have rights and you building all this stuff and someone has that, and at any moment they could just say, we got rights to possess it and we want it.
Exactly. And so I learned from that situation because I bought like I think it was like an acre. It was like an acre and a half, and it wasn't the best piece of property, but I bought like kind of in a comfort zone because I knew the neighbors and stuff like that. So I figured, hey, at least I know that I somewhat know these people. Let me go ahead and purchase here. And but that whole situation taught me differently. But anyways, that's number one that you have to watch out for. Like anybody will try to sell you a piece of property out there, and half the time it won't even be theirs. You know, they're working for somebody else, and they're just trying to make some like quick commission. You know, and if you don't, you know, so the first thing you got to do is get yourself a lawyer. You know, and the lawyers in Nicaragua, they're not that expensive. You know, you can they'll handle a lot of your stuff for like 20, $40. You know what I mean? Like it's cheap. So like it's better to just go ahead and, you know, find you a decent lawyer. And I'm not saying all your stuff, but I'm saying each time you have to go and see a lawyer, they're only gonna charge you like 20, $40, you know, at max.
Wow,
You know,
that's actually really cheap. In Costa Rica, it's like $300-$400, which is cheap too if you
yeah,
compare it to the States.
yeah,
$300, $300 is cheap, but $20.
yeah. You can find those lawyers that will, you know, put you in the right place. You know, like at least they know like enough to like, you know, do the process right. You know, but if you it's better to bank on somebody who really knows what they're doing and pay, you know, the I won't say top dollar, but the the better price for better service, you know.
Mm.
But
So did you ask around for it? So everybody pretty much used the same lawyers? Because that's what we did. We asked people around what lawyer that they recommend in the area in Costa Rica that we live in, and
yeah,
everybody recommended the same person. So we felt good about going to that guy because we talked to like 5 or 6 different people, and they all recommend the same guy. So
exactly. Yeah, that's what we did. We asked around and we asked who people were using, and then we went out and met them. And then I was like, okay. Well, the first lawyer I had, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with him because I heard, you know, from somebody else. But then when I met another lawyer, I was like, no, I like this. I like this dude. So we're gonna go with him. And he, you know, he did us right, and
yeah.
and he let us know, um, you know, since I had purchased that property or whatnot, um, what he did was he put in a clause since he saw what they were doing. He put in a clause to help us out, and it was like a 99-year clause saying like, you know, if anybody's to show up on this property in the next 99 years and try to reclaim the land, they can't do that. You know what I mean? I as a tourist or extra hero have the ability to sue them for, you know, if they try all that.
Mm.
So he helped make the best out of that situation. But I ended up, long story short, is after buying that property, um, I also learned a lot about zoning.
Mm.
And, you know, um, the reason why they sold me that property for so cheap was because it was in a bad zone. It was in a mudslide area. And I guess like back in the day, a volcano had, you know, erupted, and it kind of carved out that area. And so years after that, when heavy rains would hit, the mud would come off the top of that volcano and slide all down through these, you know, where it had carved out. And I didn't know that, and it was crazy because you could see the signs. Like when you walk up to the property, you can see all the signs, but like it goes past your head. But
Yeah.
anyways, we ended up after that whole ordeal.
Somebody told you that? Like, how did you find that history out?
Yeah, many people told me that because you know, a lot of people saw that I had children and stuff like that. And they were like, "Yo, bro, like this ain't the zone for that." You know what I mean? They were like, "Man, it could get wild right there," you know. And so I was like, "All right, let me look into that." And so when I went and I started hiking up the mountain and started to see where like everything was kind of carved out, where there was old like water sediment and stuff like that, I was like, "Oh man." I was like, I better trust what they're saying, you know, because the other folks didn't say nothing about it because they wanted the money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the dude that the neighbors who cared, they had told me, and then that's when I was like, okay, you know, let me check it out, and then I ended up parting
You
from
were
that.
able to get out of it, right?
Yeah, I sold it.
You you sold it to another tourist or back to the locals or something?
No, to the tourists. They wanted it anyways because they had extra plans. I guess they wanted to buy that property before I did, but they didn't have, like, you know, the plan and the funds at the time. So I hopped on it and was able to sell it back to them,
Hmm.
you know, when I ended up leaving.
Okay, and then you relocated to where's
San
San?
Juan del Sur.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then
which is
another property,
beachside, and then I purchased another property. Yeah,
and that's the one you currently have right now, right?
yeah.
You use the
And
same lawyer, or you got a different lawyer for that
I
property?
use I use the same lawyer.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So
all right.
it was crazy. I dragged him all the way from the island, all the way over there, like 2 hours away, to help me out. You know what I mean? And so, like, I was willing to pay him to do that. You know what I mean? Because he's already showed, you know, his trust in that. You know.
I would have done the same thing, man. As long as it was within the country, I use the same lawyer too, man, because I'd be so cautious of the scams.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to be
So,
careful for that.
so you think land? So a lot of people who are looking to buy land, they want to know like how much it costs and is can you get good deals and uh,
Well,
things like that nature.
yeah, that all depends. You know, like, it depends on where you're trying to be, like your location. Like, you know, for me, um, location it was key. You know, it was like, for me and my family, I didn't want to be, you know, no more than 30 minutes away from a hospital, you know, or I didn't want to be no more than 30 minutes away from a town.
Mhm.
That way I can, you know, get into town, get all my goods, you know, and get everything I needed. But the further out you go, the cheaper the cost is, you know.
Cheaper the cost of the land,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, so if you're like close to the beach or close to the tourist town, it's going to be very expensive per acre or per hectare, whatever you
Yeah.
buy. Um, but if, like you're saying, you're about 30 minutes to an hour away, so
You get the
yeah.
differential. You kind of, it seems like that's like the sweet spot. Like, 30
Mhm.
minutes, being about 30 minutes to 45 minutes away, there's a little sweet spot in like, you know, in the cost when it comes to property, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah, the closer you get to the beach, you know, and you have access to beach life and stuff like that, oh yeah, that cost going it's going to skyrocket. You know what I mean?
All right, so let me ask you about culture shocks. What's the
Okay.
biggest culture shock for you relocating to another country?
Um, Shoot. I mean, I didn't. The culture shock for me, I'd say, just was the language, because I didn't know the language. You know,
Uh,
so
oh,
like,
see, I thought you had spoke Spanish the whole time.
nah,
Oh,
nah. My ex-wife, she spoke
shit.
Spanish, but I didn't speak Spanish like that. You know, I had to learn it, and you know, so that for me it was just, you know, developing, you know, the
But you
vocabulary to
knew
speak.
something because you were from California, so you knew some
I
words, right?
mean, there was little words that I knew, you know what I mean? But I didn't know how to put sentences together and stuff like that, you know, like, you know, when I first started, I was just picking out words that I already knew and try to put things together the best I could, you know. But then I took a class while I was there, and from that class, I, just started progressing.
Got it.
Well, and what really happened, it was just gaining confidence, to be honest. Like, I felt that's the best, it's the easiest way to do it is just, you have to find it within yourself to be confident, and go out and just start speaking it and talking to folks, you know what I mean? Because once I started doing that, then it kind of, it opened up it opened up everything, like the Spanish just started kicking in, you know what I mean? Just started flowing out your mouth,
It started becoming, yeah. Yeah. For me, I learned a lot in high school, and I went to school in Texas and South Florida, so a lot of people spoke Spanish. So I got a lot of good experience, and I took a lot of Spanish courses, and I studied on my own too. So by the time I got to Costa Rica, it just took me about a year or two to get to that next level. And right now, I say I'm like close to intermediate. I got like some grammar issues that I need to find a way to put my sentences like really together.
Mm-hmm.
But I say if I really try for like another year, maybe a year or two, if I really try like hard, I could be fluent. Like I'm
You
really,
will be.
yeah. I think I'll get there. But I'll tell you. Let me think about a culture shock for me. Because I ain't gonna talk about Belize because that was a whole different thing. I'll stay on Costa Rica. The biggest culture shock for me with Costa Rica was, well, where I live. I don't live in a Caribbean side or a tourist side, so where I live I'm the only brown skinned person where I live. So dark brown, black person is I'm the only black man here. So that took a while because all my neighbors are farmers, and pretty much all my neighbors are farmers, nothing else, or they do the tours, and I do the tours and farming too. So, and I was just talking to my wife about that, and it's like, whatever the locals do, you want to kind of model your life after them, and then go from there. So that's what I try to do. But one of the biggest culture shocks, definitely wasn't the language because I kind of had a little bit understanding, but it was just everybody looking different than me. Me being the only man here, and then I got locks, so I really stood out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that did happen to me too. I had my locks when I first got to Nicaragua, so people did kind of look at me differently because I was different. But that's one thing that I will say about Nicaragua. Their racism, it's not like that down there. You don't feel a lot of racism or anything like that. Like they're very accepting. And I rarely felt anything like that. I felt way more racism being here, in California than I have in Nicaragua.
Yeah, they're good people, man. People down here, they're really good people. I really got no complaints. I've never been inside of Nicaragua, but I've met Nicaraguans in Costa Rica, and they're really humble, hardworking people. And they actually treat us better than the Costa Ricans treat us because sometimes they feel a lot of racism because they're from Nicaragua.
Yeah.
So they can
because
kind of
I did hear
a little bit.
I do hear a lot of Nicaraguans. They say they get treated different when they're over in Costa Rica because they go over there to work, and that's why they don't like to be there. But it's what was I gonna say? It's a constant, or not a constant thing, but it's one of those things in down there. It's more accepting because I guess that culture in itself, it's like it's a mix. You know what I mean? So like their culture in itself, like Nicaraguans are light skinned, they're dark skinned, fair skinned. Some have coarse hair, some have straight hair, some have blue eyes, some have green eyes, and it's how you say, it's more not wide, but like, you know, you see it more often. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's more accepted.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add? Because this is our first stream, so
Um, you when you had
go
said
into details about other things later on. But
yeah, when you had said culture shock and about I'm trying to think what else when I was gonna tell you. Um, oh, just things like adapting to the climate. You
mm,
know, before that we were talking about the climate. I didn't really get to talk about that. That was a big thing for me because you know, I mean, you being from Florida, you might be able to adapt to like the humid weather. You
yeah,
know, California, it's a different. It's not humid out here. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
I lived in Northern California my whole life, and you know, for the majority of my life, and it gets hot up there. You know, but when it's just not the same as Central America. You know, the climate you have to really adapt to, like feeling, um, you know, sweaty or you know, feeling that moist air all the time. You know, and
right.
it's different. You know, if you're not used to that.
Yeah. So for me, it didn't. It was a culture shock with the rain because when I first got to Costa Rica, I may be a little dramatic, but it felt like it rained every single day. At least 95% of the time it was raining. And for me, it was like, wow, it rains 3 to 4 hours a day, sometimes 6 hours a day. And I was just like, for me, that was just crazy. Like, how does it rain hard for hours every single day?
That's
And
what I was gonna say too. And
yeah,
it's not just sprinkle. You know, it's dropping puddles of water
yeah,
out the sky. You know what I
it's
mean?
like a flood risk.
You can't
It's
even
like
you can't
yeah,
even hear the person sitting next to you when it's raining.
right. You gotta get off. Yeah, because if it's we're actually kind of going through a drought right now, so I can kind of do this stream because if it started raining right now and I don't have like a closed studio right now, I would have to like we would have to end the stream because it would
Mm,
just the raindrops would just be too loud.
yeah,
So, but I'm not gonna say that was a culture shock because I liked it. It was
yeah,
because I'm like a water type of person, so the water relaxes me. You get what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
It was shocking that wow. It was more like wow, like wow, this is raining every day. But it was at the same time, it wasn't like devastating culture shock. It was more of a soothing, you know.
Hmm.
Like I would just take a nap or relax, chill, drink a coffee, read a book, you know.
Yeah,
So it wasn't like a bad culture shock.
it wasn't bad. It was just something I had to adapt to. You know, I wasn't used to like being humid all the time. You know what I mean? And um, that was just one of those things. And then you know, like you were saying, like you learning how to live like the locals.
Hmm.
That was more of my goal as well. Is like learning how to be more primitive instead of always, you know, using electricity. And that's just my journey, but I'm speaking that for the sake of anybody else who would like that. You know, learning how to wash your clothes on rocks. You know, in the river.
Hmm.
Um, Things like that, you know. These were all not, they weren't really culture shocks. It was just something new, you know what I mean? So the only thing that kind of shocked me was the language barrier and not being able, you know, to connect with people because I couldn't voice the words, you know what I mean? But as far as getting out there and learning how to live that way, you know, it wasn't really a shock, but it was something I had to adapt to, you know. So
Right. So that was a real culture shock. Is the power goes out at least once, twice, sometimes 3 times a day. So for me, that was a real big shock. You know, that was took me. It's still, I'm used to it now because I've been. My first time in Costa Rica was 2017, so it's been like 7 years. So I'm used to the rain and the power outages, especially when you're trying to get work done. That could really be frustrating. So
Yeah, that was an issue that we had to go through as well, learning how to live without, like, cell phone service and stuff like that all the time. In
yeah,
certain spots, it would get, you wouldn't have nothing, so
Mhm.
but for the most part, the majority of the time we had cell phone service. We had
Right.
internet wherever we went.
I think that would be something good to talk about next stream is the solutions that we found along the way to these issues, like what we do when these things type of things happen, like the
Yeah.
mosquitoes, the scammers when trying to buy land, and also the culture shocks, like how we learn to adjust.
Yes.
That'd be
Yeah, yeah.
something to go into
I'm
detail.
writing that down right now so I remember, because that's a good
Yeah.
one, for the changing your phone service and stuff like that. That's big.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So adjustments.
Yeah.
Like that because we sharing the wisdom with other people, and like I guess that's the point of this stream is that a lot of people aspire to do what we did, move to Central America or somewhere else, another country in the world, buy land, and the culture shocks that they may have to deal with, and how we adjust it. And another thing we should talk about is the mindset. So we could talk about the adjustments because that's connected with the mindset,
Yeah.
instead of giving up. Because if you are able to adjust, that means you didn't give up. Because a lot of people they hit that wall, it gets too hard, and they don't make adjustments. They just go back home.
Oh
They don't
yeah.
have the right mindset. So
Yeah, and that's okay. I don't know if you want to run another stream, but um, yeah,
well, it's just content. It's just more content because this is our first stream, so we can build on it,
yeah, because
and it's
I would
just
I would like to go a little bit more in depth. That way we can kind of lay it all out
yeah,
more in detail.
for sure.
So,
You want to add something to it now, or you want to do it the next stream?
I mean, for this one, I guess since we touched location, I can add to it now. Um,
Cool.
I was just gonna say, like before you move, I would do a little bit of history, like research a little bit of history about that country, and to all the way up to like current events, all the way back to, you know, you know, I don't know, 50, 100 years ago. You know what I mean? To
Mhm.
just kind of get a good feel of their country, their economy, how things have shaped up, how their world had shaped up over time. That way you're able to kind of relate when you not relate, but you're able to have something to go over there with. You know what I mean? And um, what else was I going to say? Um, oh, the location. You got to spend at least a week or two, um, in that country before you transition. Like I feel that's vital. Like don't just pick up, don't just pick up and go on a like a weekend vacation or something like that. You seen it, you saw it, and now you want to move there. No, like you got to spend a little bit of time before you make that decision, and especially if you're planning on buying if you're planning on buying property and stuff like that,
Mhm.
going out there and spend a week or two just traveling throughout the country,
Mhm.
and um, experiencing the climate in that area,
Right.
and you know, the way the city is laid out or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
What you'll find what you like and what you don't like along that that journey. You know what I mean? But that I feel is vital. Is that 2 week? There's like a 2 week period that you need to take to just like
Yeah.
research and travel before you can think about making that move.
Yeah, I think. Hold on a second. I think it's the same thing with.
They drag racing in your neighborhood.
I think. I think that's the same thing you should do before you buy land. You should stay in that area for a while before you buy land in that area to see if you like it. Because if you just come on your trip, you see the land, and then you're like, oh, I want to buy this land, but you don't know nothing about the weather, the bugs, the wild animals. You know, there could be diseases that the trees carry in that area that you don't know about. Animals could carry diseases in that area.
Yeah.
You just got to do research. You got to ask questions because uh, I know a guy who he planned his whole retirement around planting coconut trees,
Mm.
and he planted all these coconut trees, and then there was a coconut tree disease that wiped them all out. And
Mm.
he didn't he didn't two things he didn't do. He didn't do his research before he decided to go that route, and he didn't build the immune system of the trees.
Mm.
To in the number three, he didn't diversify. He put all his eggs in one basket, which was coconut trees. So if he would have
Yeah.
had like if he would have had like 10 different trees, he would have been straight in. If he would have had 10 different trees and studied the potential disease risk of these trees and gave them the right supplements and immunity boosters,
Yeah.
then he probably wouldn't have had that situation.
So yeah, that's I guess that's that's the topic that we should have talked about was preparation.
Hmm.
Making sure that you're prepped before you do that transition. You know what I mean? And because it's a lot. It's there's a lot that goes into like you know um, starting a new journey in life.
Facts.
So
Yeah, man, that's good stuff though.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got more.
you want
We
to add
got more
something
that.
else?
No, we can end this one if you want, because I
Okay.
don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have because I know we went over everything and that we said the culture shocks. I think what I
Mm-hmm.
think we should do is narrow it down to one thing because
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the currency and the remote income, and that's like a whole stream by itself. Just
Yeah,
just talking about that one thing.
and that's what I meant is like
Yeah,
I think we gotta break it down because each thing is a
yeah.
whole topic in itself.
It's
You know
all
what I
it's a
mean?
whole topic. So we should.
Yeah.
So
I
this
get,
could be like the introduction to those things, and
yeah,
then we'll like for culture shocks, we can have a whole session just on that. Income, buying land, we can have a whole session on that. So we can just this. I guess this would just be the introduction to what we'll be talking about.
for sure.
Cool,
Yeah. All
cool,
right.
man.
Now it was good. This was a good chat, a good start. So
Yeah, we got it
looking forward to the next one.
for sure. All right.
All right. Well,
Any? I gotta check to see anybody got any comments. But I saw a couple people come in and out of the chat, but I don't think we got any
you know
comments.
why? I don't know if we have a title on there either. So if they just hopping in,
Yeah,
if there's no title, they don't. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'll talk to you about it offline because I think it's a way to get the title on here. I gotta
For
figure that
sure.
out.
All right. Well, let's.
Oh, I think I already figured it out. But okay. All right, so I'm gonna end the stream. So we'll announce the next stream probably on Facebook or YouTube.
All right.
All right,
All right,
peace.
signing off. Yep.